one of them in particular will let themselves in
in
and
and
like
like
eat
eat
all
all
the
the
walnuts
walnuts
out
out
of
of
the
the
bag
bag
because
because
the
the
other
other
ones
ones
are
are
true
true
free.
free.
Huh. It's
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
He
He
calls
calls
for
for
them.
them.
The
The
whole
whole
like
like
10
10
plus
plus
squirrels
squirrels
come
come
out
out
of
of
the
the
trees.
trees.
It's
It's
nuts.
nuts.
You got a name for him?
He
He
does,
does,
but
but
he's
he's
not
not
like
like
really
really
conventional
conventional
with
with
naming
naming
things.
things.
Everything
Everything
has
has
like
like
10
10
really
really
strange
strange
names.
names.
Like
Like
one
one
he
he
calls
calls
crazy
crazy
legs
legs
or
or
something.
something.
Because
Because
it's
it's
super
super
nervous.
nervous.
It
It
really
really
wants
wants
to
to
take the
take the
food
food
out
out
of
of
your
your
hands,
hands,
but it
but
like
like
stands
stands
up
up
on
on
its
its
hind
hind
legs
legs
and
and
wobbles
wobbles
and
and
takes
takes
15
15
minutes
minutes
to
to
make the
make the
decision.
decision.
But
But
the
the
other
other
ones, they
ones, they
just
just
come
come
right
right
up
up
all
all
chill and
chill
will
and will
sit
sit
there
there
and
and
hang
hang
out.
out.
I want to befriend a crow.
A crow.
Same.
I have one that comes by and like I put out food for him. Where my desk is, I have some windows out to the deck, and he'll come by. I'll open the window, toss out some snacks for him, and he'll bring me stuff too. He'll get
Nice.
like a little shiny bit of metal or foil or something.
Mm,
I've
I
befriended
befriended
the
the
seagulls.
seagulls.
I, I
I
got
got sick. Yeah, I have videos. I got and the squirrels. I have videos of that. But I got sick of them fighting over the food I threw on the ground. So I
held
held
my
my
hand
hand
up
up
and I
and I
figured
figured
whoever
whoever
was
was
brave
brave
enough
enough
would
would
come
come
get
get
it.
it.
Now
Now
when
when
they
they
see
see
my
my
car,
car,
they
they
fly
fly
over
over
and
and
they
they
will
will
in
in
fact
fact
Oh,
cover and
cool.
politely
politely
take
take
food
food
out
out
of
of
me.
me.
It's great. They're
They're
not
not
the
the
smartest
smartest
birds,
birds,
but
but
they're
they're
cute.
cute.
Cool. All right. Well, so let's go ahead and get started for the evening. Um, this is just the third time that we've been doing this. A lot of you are here for the first time, and that's great. But I want to set some kind of just expectations for like what tonight is and what to expect and everything. I guess that's what an expectation is. But so this is really kind of loose. This is not necessarily like me teaching a topic. This is more of a collaborative effort where we learn a topic together. I have personally never interacted with Focused Interaction API, so I don't know much about it. I'm going to go into it fairly blind. Um, and so, if anyone here does know a thing about it, then you're more than welcome to kind of help us along. And that's kind of the whole goal for tonight is that we're helping each other kind of learn this together. So, like I said, it's not just me teaching. It's us all trying to figure it out at the same time. So I think I can only invite so many people to the world that I'm working on, but everyone is also welcome to kind of start their own world and just either follow us as we figure it out or take your own path and figure out your own thing and then share it with us later. Like, both of those are totally acceptable ways to interact with the tonight's event, right? No Point is typing in chat for some reason, and he says, if it's the UI, I used it for the competition. I don't think it is. At least I don't know a lot about it, but I know it's not in the UI library. It's in the core library under player. Although it may be mobile, web and mobile only though, as far as that goes, since probably still can't do whatever it is.
So
So
that's
that's
for
for
like
like
when
when
you
you
have
have
the
the
tapping
tapping
and
and
dragging,
dragging,
so
so
you
you
can
can
still
still
do
do
things
things
like
like
manipulating a
manipulating a
fixed
fixed
camera.
camera.
So
So
then
then
you
you
could
could
have
have
the
the
drag
drag
where
where
you
you
see
see
the
the
trails
trails
behind a
behind a
touch
touch
input
input
on the
on the
screen
screen
or
or
a
a
mouse
mouse
input,
input,
and
and
like
like
rotate
rotate
an
an
object
object
in
in
its
its
3D
3D
space
space
while
while
your
your
camera
camera
stays
stays
fixed.
fixed.
Or,
Or,
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's
that's
just
just
one
one
tiny
tiny
application,
application,
but
but
more
more
like
like
that.
that.
Kind of
Kind of
like a
like a
focused
focused
UI,
UI,
but
but
you
you
can
can
do
do
much
much
more
more
with
with
it.
it.
Or
Or
CUI, I
CUI, I
guess.
guess.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Again, I think it creates more questions than it does answers for me, at least at the moment. The beginning of these can start out kind of boring because I like to take, if I'm going to learn a topic, I think it's worth it to at least go through the documentation. If you're going to spend time on a thing, like spend time on it right and like try to be effective or efficient. And ideally, like you want, in my mind, like want to seek out the documentation for this thing, which arguably is rather kind of difficult with the current setup. Could do a search. I don't often have good luck with searches.
Top search bar. Use the magnifying glass up top. Top right.
You have better luck with this one.
Yes.
Wonder if this is going to be the API. Nope, looks like this is probably what we need. So right out the gate, like that's super important. I'm glad someone had the foresight to stick this at the very front. This feature requires local scripting, so that's neat. It says focused interaction is an interaction mode for users of the web and mobile version, so like we suspected, no VR. This replaces the default input, such as the on-screen joystick and buttons, with touch and click events on the screen. You use focused interaction to provide user interactions that feel more intuitive to desktop and mobile users. It gives them the ability to interact directly with objects within the world by clicking, tapping, swiping, or dragging. The following functionality is disabled and enabled. So when in focused interaction mode, it disables avatar motion controls, which is either the left joystick on mobile or WASD keys on desktop. Controls for held items, so like probably your buttons over here on the right side of the screen, right? On-screen action buttons like jump, I noticed they're putting those in the middle. And the default camera and the ability to look around the right joystick or mouse movement on desktop. It does enable direct touch on the mobile device screen, mouse input on a desktop computer screen, and can use a fixed camera. More information, see that in the camera API. We played with that last week. In focused interaction mode, you can listen for the following user events to get user input data. So you can get an input started, an input moved, and an input ended. These events are triggered within a local script on an object owned by the player when the player touches the screen on a mobile device or when they click on the screen on the desktop. And so here's an example of like how to enter. So this must be this.enter focused mode equals player controls.connect to local input. Parameters are, we're connecting to a specific input, it looks like. So we're connecting to the right grip. Yeah, okay. I've done this sort of thing without focused interaction. That's just like connecting to a button, an input button, and then doing a thing when it gets pressed. Is that all this is? Is that all this API is? Because I didn't use these, but I have used this for like detecting when the player hit the jump button. Is there anyone in here that has played with it at all, or are we all kind of exploring it for the first time?
I played with it some. I went through the example. not this particular one, but in the tutorial world, which may be beneficial to open up because it does have like visual examples that are tied to these. Please scroll back up to the example.
Okay. Well, so then the next thing I want to do is just take a quick look at the API references for this. And so I already happen to know this was under the core in the player. And so I don't think it's a, well, I think focused interaction is a property. So the focused interaction instance associated with the player. Focused interaction mode replaces the on-screen, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we kind of already read most of that, and then that was the guide that we were just looking at, I'm sure. Yeah. Let me click on this. This goes to focused interaction. The class, okay. So the constructor just requires a player. It has one property, the current player. The methods are set tap options is enabled and the tap options. Toggles and customize the visual feedback to display when play. Oh, okay. So for so trail visual feedback trails as well. Okay. So you can turn those on and off. That's it. Okay. For focused interaction. Let's go back then. Oh, this is the, my bad, I thought I was looking at, let's go back to player. Okay, let's see what other, so this is what I was curious about. What does it mean to enter focused interaction mode? This is what I've not done, and this may be where we start tonight. Just use this line of code on a player and see what it does, because I've never actually done that. But it enables focused interaction mode for the player. Doesn't return anything. This method must be called on a local player. It has no effect on VR players. Focused interaction mode replaces on-screen controls on web and mobile clients with touch and mouse input that includes direct input access. Exit focused interaction mode disables, okay. When it's enabled, you can receive input data from, maybe we should look into, well, if we look into one, I think we'll look into all three of them, but. We have to check out an example of how we connect and listen to these and just see what kind of information they come back with. Because, for example, like here's the started. So it's a local event. And it comes back with interaction information, which I was hoping to get a link to interaction information. What is it? What does it do? I just got lost. Where was it? Here it is. So interaction information, it's interaction index, the screen position as a vector, the world ray origin and the world ray direction. Okay. I honestly, guys, I don't quite understand. But let's set up an example. I started a new world. If anybody wants to invite to this one and join with me, that's fine. Or you can, like I said, just create your own and just kind of play around with it yourself. But since we know that it requires local scripting, I need to set that up first, which we might be able to steal from our previous build with BluNET, the camera API, because I think we had to do something similar for that one too. So what if we come over here? I'm just going to pop in this world long enough to grab the scripts off of it on my computer, and then I can just copy them over to the other world. So now I can pop back into this one. But on my computer, if we go to here, I should have a local cams, a player manager script, which I think may be all I need. Let me grab this script, probably the local, maybe grab both of these scripts here, come back over to New World, boom, drop those in here. I'm going to open player manager. I think if I remember right, I need an empty object to run a player manager. So I'm going to create empty object here, call it player manager, and then just do attach. Oh, why do you say new script? Oh, there's an error. Let's fix these errors. They're not compiling. Let's see what's wrong with them. Events. We don't actually need. Well, it's not going to hurt. We probably won't need anything that's in there, but I typically use an events file every time. So we might as well just bring it in and we can delete what we don't need. So that should satisfy. Oh, the camera API is not turned on. So let's go in here, hit APIs, kick that on, apply. Now everything should be satisfied in just a second. All good there, all good here. Now we should be able to attach our player manager script, which comes with an index property. So now I can copy well, actually it's control. My control button's a little messed up. Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. So I got 5 of them. First one can stay 0. I'll make this one an index of 1. This is just because I know how this script is already works, and it sets a player up with their own personal player manager based on whatever index they are when they come into the world. So basically right now this world's capable of setting or supporting 5 people because I've got 5 player managers set up. But now with the player manager scripts running, I need to look, make sure I'm doing this right. So, oh, well, I didn't actually need the camera, but whatever, it's here now. A player manager, when a player joins the world, if I don't have an owner and my index matches that player's index, well, now they're my owner. So that's good. That's the way I expected this one to work. This one, that means the player manager script is our local script, by the way, so we need to switch that to local for player manager. So But now we do the ownership change. We connected ourselves up to a local event to switch our camera, but I think we're going to delete all of that. So now we're not doing anything. We can start fresh with our focused interaction stuff. Maybe, like I said, maybe we'll leave that camera stuff for now. So on world start, this is not actually world start because this is a local script. When ownership's transferred, it will run world start again. And if the owner is not the server player, well, this is the second time at least it's been started. So we can put player into, so do player dot, what was it? Focused interaction mode dot, what did it say? And enter focused, okay. So it should be enter focused interaction mode. And then there's probably some optional parameters, right? No? Not really? Okay, let's just see what that does then. So we'll hit save on this script. And I don't think this was for the trigger enters. And I'm not running a trigger, so I don't need that script at the moment. I'm going to, in my desktop editor, just switch myself over to mobile on an Android. Give myself some more real estate here. Close this stuff. Alright, so let's run the world. Let's monitor our console. Like, be good developers here. Hit play. Nothing bad happened in the console. That's good. Now we enter the world. So player manager did fire on me. I've noticed my controls did go away, right? So I don't have, oh, and now I've got touch.
Yeah, I think you're set.
And I've got trailing. So I'm in focused interaction mode now. Oh, and now I'm not. I was able to get out of it by hitting that back button. Okay, so if I exit the world, I go back in, it won't re-enable it. I think the manager doesn't like reset properly, and so it doesn't, anyway. But yeah, so this is focused interaction mode now. Oh, well, that won't do anything in this version, but it should in the web version. Okay, so I think the next thing to do, so like if players can do this, I think the next question I have, and this might be the next logical question, then it might not be, but how do we, and I think I already know the answer, it's those local events, but basically like getting this information, so did they click here, did they click here, did they swipe from here to here, like, is that the beauty of the API, is getting that information back and reacting on it?
Can you pick something else?
That's a good point. So let's drop an object, like a grabbable object in the world, right? And see if we can move it. Is that what we do?
I think so. But
So
I think there's, yeah, I think there's work to do there. A lot, actually, maybe.
to even get it to get this to do its thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some things, um, use cases.
Well, we're just experimenting. Like I said, I hadn't played with this. I didn't claim to know what I was doing. But let's hit play. Well, now I've got to restart the world because the interaction doesn't take over again.
Of course not.
Okay, so there's more we got to do, right?
There's got to be some output from that, right? That you can capture.
Well, when focused mode is enabled, you can retrieve input data from these three events. I guess if we go back and look through our documentation, it's like these events are triggered within a local script on an object owned by the player when the player touches the screen on a mobile device. So we'll be able to get feedback on the touch. And so how to enter, which we've already done.
So when moved, maybe we maybe we apply some physics to the block there. Like we could translate it to the movement of that object.
Yeah, okay.
Like you could pick it up sort of with the physics by applying physics while you're so input started. We start applying physics, I guess. And
Because when this event fires or any of these event fire, we get interaction information back, which the interaction index says it is an index for differentiating between simultaneous inputs. The first input is 0. So it's like every time we get one of these, we need to like do an update, I guess, or something. But and then the screen position of the input normalized to the range. Okay. So
back 2. Well, wait. It says back 3 though.
yeah. um, we can check if we do like a const interaction info as hz. What was it? It was interaction. Oh, wait, no. Interaction info. Yeah.
Payload of the. Yeah.
It's not a typo.
Well, we probably just use the first two. X and Y, huh?
I guess. I think that. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a vec too, right? I don't know. Anyway. Um,
Well, this is great because if you get the start position and a end position, you can tell how far they move their finger, and then you could apply like a force, to, directly proportional to that amount.
This is like raycast, right?
well, there was.
So it's a 2D. It's 2D, but from whatever is in the world. Oh,
Oh,
So raycast are generated by the touch.
yeah. So if you put objects on the screen, it's gonna tree for wherever you touch. If that makes sense. I think that's what that means. So you can output that vector 3 and click on a box that's on the screen versus something at a
Maybe,
distance. I think they're two different numbers.
maybe we could set up an in-world debug and just tie it to those data points.
Well, that was definitely what I was going to do. Yeah, I mean that's where I was going with this.
There's like a gazillion things you could do with that.
All right, so yeah, let's at least get those readouts and see what that looks like, right? So if we've entered interaction mode, we can now connect to those events, right? So we can say this dot connect. I think they called it a local event. You can connect to it on this entity, but how do we access it now? Was it player controls? Yeah. Dot on focused. Let's do a start. What are so the interaction info is what that's what it's returning, right? I think. So we can, or can we just say data and then okay. So and then let's see. Let's do the rest of it. Ended, and it's not canceled, but it was move. Okay. Maybe I need to look at one of the examples. It must be a code block event and not a local event. I think that's what it might have showed in the examples. Oh, it's a broadcast. My bad. So with a broadcast, we don't need to define the entity that we're listening to, but we do need to change this to say broadcast instead of just event. Alright, let's see if that's all we needed to do is just convert that from a regular local event to a broadcast event. So we got a start, a move, and an end. index was 0 for all three of those. If I do it again, index is still 0. Screen position. So it's, yeah, it looks like it's an X and a Y and a 0 on the Z. But then you get your raycast direction and raycast origins. Okay. So how with this information, and so if we look, so that's I mean, all this looks the same, right? So this is a start. This is a move, which the values are the same because that was really just a click, right? And then where we ended at when we let go. Now, if I was to clear that and like drag across the screen, I'd say we get one start, multiple moves, and then an end, right? So yeah, we get one start in the very beginning. All of these were all of the moves that I did, which were a lot. But also, like, interestingly enough, the index, the interaction index, is still 0 for everything. So I don't know what kind of order they're trying to portray at the moment. But yeah, one start at the beginning, and then all the way at the end, finally an end. And then so these values, yeah, they're changing. So they should represent, if we clear this and I start from this corner, we should have values close to 0. Well, a double 0 in the X and almost a 1 in the Y. So what about this corner?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our 0 corner. This is 0, 1. And so this is 1, 1. So 0, 1 and 1, 1. And then what, 1, 0? Yeah. Okay.
I guess like what do you want to do? Because we could apply like an upward physics to the block and directly proportional to the move, or
Well,
the start and the end if you wanted. Or...
honestly, I think this is kind of where my creativity runs out. Like, okay, I understand this much, but I guess I don't understand it to the degree that I know how I can apply it to something. Hey, Jeff Roberts, I see you in chat.
Hey, Blue, maybe we should look at a few good uses of that. I
Yeah.
know that they did it on that kitty game that came out. That it's like a kitty clicker, like a cookie clicker game.
Okay. Let's look. Let's do that, right? Like, do they? First of all, do they have a tutorial for this?
Yeah. There's one in the interfaces or the TypeScript tutorial world. That one. Can't remember which one it was.
I've got a bunch of ideas, like, I mean, I don't know. There's so many. You could make like a painting thing where you paint objects as a scene.
You know, yeah, those like drawing boards seem like they might be a little easier. Although we still have to rely on like silly trail gizmos popping in and out of the board. But if you can get it to follow like your finger, now you can write with a trail gizmo pretty easily. We can finally do signatures in Horizon. Hooray.
Cast. If you use a raycaster and raycast and get the object hit, um, then you could know which object that you want to affect. And like the first thing that came to my mind was you could lift an object off the floor or move it around.
It's at the other end of the map, blue.
This one says we use focused interaction to rotate objects.
Oh, okay.
We use focused interaction. Let's hop into.
I'll throw the better example at the further down at the where they have all of them in that big in that section, that big L-shaped section. If you keep going, just like towards the end. And then they also use ray casting, which is pretty helpful for with the focus interaction.
Let's check these out. Okay. Okay.
Like not all of them use raycasters though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking there. Maybe I saw this before.
It don't accept double inputs though. It only goes the initial direction. Okay.
What does it do if you give it like a curve to swipe?
A what?
Like before the ball's going like straight, but does it respond to a curved swipe?
It must be the initial direction, right? Because if I swipe this way, and then I'm like, blah, 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 it's going that way.
Fun. Which one of these is most fun?
Wait, what am I doing here?
It changes the that changes the
Oh, so these aren't examples of focused interaction. They're just
no, but you can change how the interface looks with it.
yeah.
See how it's red now.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm switching stuff up to all use focus interaction.
Honestly, I think I liked this one, but I really kind of liked this one too. That rotating. Both of those both of those scripts are probably worth looking at just to see how that sort of interaction occurred, right?
Are they putting it in that space, in that like volume right there, where that cube is, like that container holding it, or is that just where what was held? Oh, what the heck's that? Are those all trigger boxes?
Whoa. No. Text, text, mesh, trigger, collection of text, the
It's to
script.
prevent your ray from going to the back wall. Or something.
You talking about this piece here?
It's probably just how they split that cube up. It's kind of complicated, or
Can't even select that cube.
yeah, I'm like, wow, that is a lot of pieces.
That's text. Oh,
For AI.
drag on the
Can you
cube
hear
to
me okay?
rotate it. Oh, so this text is not visible by default, and then they activate it when you, yeah, that's what that is. Let's this world has context, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you put that as context, that world as context for Copilot, it will really open up folks' interaction. Like, oh my god,
Have you already played with it?
I'm doing it right now.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't. This is a new computer, so I have to set everything up here from scratch. I don't have Copilot on this one yet.
Let's see, this is called the dragging example. I'm curious, I actually want to see. Here's the dragging example. Here's a reference of object to drag. If we scroll down, so it connects to. Well, that's strange. It connects a network event this time. Something must be sending this event across the network or something. I don't know. It don't matter. But we're listening to that moved event, and with the interaction information that comes through. So we cast the interaction information to just interaction constant. Make sure it has values. If the last drag position is not defined or the object's not defined, we return, so we don't do anything. The drag delta is the interaction screen position subtracting the last drag position, getting the magnitude of that drag delta, or not getting it, just checking to make sure it's greater than 0, setting a rotation from Euler with drag delta dot y times 1080, negative drag delta dot x times 1080, and then setting the rotation to that rotation multiplied by the object to drag, multiplying it by its current rotation. I mean, I don't understand any of that. The only thing I understand is like we're rotate, like why it's multiplied by 1080, other than that's a pretty common number for a screen size. I don't understand that. I get this part, like getting the difference, checking the magnitude, making sure there is a difference, basically. How they're getting this rotation is, like, this is kind of weird, but whatever, as long as it works. And then applying the rotation multiplied by its own rotation. And then you can rotate an object around the screen by dragging it. It doesn't seem terribly complicated if you break it down into just basically, like, well, these lines here. Maybe next week we can continue and build our own example. Would you guys be interested in playing with this more next week?
Sure. Which world is this? How did you get to this world?
Developing for mobile and web players, completed examples tutorial world.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm interested in seeing some more, but what does everyone else think?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I would definitely like to go into this more.
Drew, was it you that said you're converting everything over to touch interaction?
Yeah, I'm making my game all mobile, getting rid of the 3D world stuff, and then it's all going to be focus interaction.
So I'm just curious, like, we've only spent an hour on this tonight, so really an hour is just barely enough time to get started on a feature like this, which is fine. But my point is, I don't know my point anymore. How do you plan on using this for how do you plan on using focused interaction? Like, what is it going to replace, first of all?
Check out this.
Oh yeah,
Game.
check out a live example. You mentioned that earlier before we got into the tutorials.
Other than the fact that there's this weird back button on it on the interface, this might not work on desktop.
Hawaii creator.
Yay.
But it'll work. But that weird back button is on here, and if you play the game, that's flash based.
That seems like a useful feature.
Everyone just turn your head.
It lets you make like true mobile games, which I find really fun and entertaining, like intuitive for cell phones, dragging and dropping, where you could do like 2 fingers and like tearing something open, simulate, I mean, lots of cool different things.
Now drag those cats together and merge them.
Oh, that's great.
So are these objects in the world?
I'm guessing so, but I love how responsive this game was. Like, it's really a great example of how they're using it.
I mean, we literally just seen this in the tutorial world. Like, if this is literally just like a plane instead of a cube, if we were thinking about the tutorial world, then all we did was just like pick up and drag an object, like in the world, basically.
Yeah.
pretty cool. I like.
I think it does.
I think there's a dagger one too, isn't there? I don't remember if it combines like UI and drag or whatnot. That was also neat for a mobile feeling game.
I like that one too.
I know on the competition entry I was on Portals. I didn't script it up, but Austin the Wise used this for our mini game that we have running as our levels are streaming in. Pops up, gives a little, it's just a crate smash, but he did use the focus interaction just to sort of lock the player right in there for it, and it works really well.
Blew your hook. You got your music all these kitties. They got you.
Forgot he was in here.
I'm not playing this game. You're playing this game.
Yeah.
I'm playing 20 or something right now. I unlocked a bunch of cats.
I mean, it's kind of addictive. I gotta give him that.
It's great.
Okay. I think that was. I think next week we do try to apply something like that in our own experience. I think that'd be pretty cool. So maybe that's what we'll plan on doing next week. We'll build it ourselves.
I don't know if you were thinking about this, Blue, but it feels like you took.
What happened to you? Feels like what, Mutts? You cut out.
I was just saying, I think 2 of these sessions feels like the right amount each time we're playing with something.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, part 1 and part 2 ain't bad.
I might try to see if I can make the avatar fly.
Jeff in chat says, this is on YouTube chat, the multiplication of 1080 is because the screen location is normalized. I mean, I understand those words. I just don't know that I quite visualize what that means.
Necessarily 1080. I mean, it could be whatever your screen size is. But if you're on mobile, it's 1080.
You think it just scales it to 1080?
Assuming that it's 1080, you know.
The stream comes in as 1080 and it just scales it to whatever your size is. Is that how it works? Is it a 1080 square? That don't make sense.
I might try to just use the normalized. I think I need the absolute.
I'll just copy their example and it should do the thing until it don't, and then I'll have to figure out why through another method. He says 0 is 0, 1 times 1080 is the far edge.
I gotta run. I'll catch you guys next week.
Alright, thanks for coming, Casey.
Good to see you guys. Bye.
Hi.
Alright, take care,
So
Drew.
notice in the code that you're only multiplying the y. So the y is 1080, but if you did the x, if you wanted to know that value, like they're not even considering the x value.
Yeah, they are.
No, it's well. Well, that's their drag delta x. Like, why would you do 1080? That's a square. That doesn't make sense because it should be 1920.
I don't guess it really matters when it's just the drag delta. Maybe maybe they don't do that when it comes to like where's the one where you because this is the one for the rotating. But what about if it was this script here? This is the plane ray casting. So where's the plane ray casting? And where's the object to move?
Mistake back there, that 1080. I don't know.
Object to move is just hit dot hit point, which is the ray cast.
Yep.
Yeah, so that only really applies to the yeah, it's probably less important because it's just like the rotating.
Yep. I don't. They just threw that in. It's like looks like a magic number.
Yeah, default custom UI is 500 by 500, but yeah, custom UI doesn't even come into play here. I don't even know if it's enabled. Yeah, custom UI is not enabled in this world. So for focused interaction, it's just under the player, the core player API. Anyway, that's pretty neat. I'll go ahead and end the stream for now since it is at an hour and we're not making any more progress, so I don't want it to drag on. We'll hang out in Discord a little longer if you guys want. But Jeff, YouTube, future viewers, thanks for coming and hanging out. We'll be here again next week, same time, with part 2 for focused interaction. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.